Like to call to order the town of Willington Inland Wetland.
Is being recorded.
Like to call to order the town of Willington Inland Wetland and Water Courses Commission today, May 18th, 2026. The time is now 7:36. All commission members are present. There are no alternates to seat. And our next order of business is applications to be received. We have one application, Inland Wetlands, application IW 26-6. This is for installation of an in-ground pool and fencing on 55 Tinkerville Road. So we will check everything is in order. I don't believe there's anything, no need for a public hearing on this. So make a motion to accept the application. Okay. Next is the approval of minutes from the April 27th, 2026 meeting.
To approve the minutes, so April 27th.
Your second that. In favor?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's no public hearing this evening, so we move on to new business. The first application, timber harvest application TH 26-3 has been tabled to the next meeting. Next application is Inland Wetlands application IW 26-5, request for jurisdictional ruling associated with timber harvest. Is that the same? Okay,
Yes.
so that will be
So
tabled.
we let the applicant know he could go forward with 180 and then resubmit for the others or modify and come back, but that it couldn't go forward with the other parcels because the regs require notification to be made within 7 days of submission. So even if he had expanded his notification today, the application had been received, had already been submitted, so there's no way for that abutters notice to take place.
Okay.
So he said you could come forward. We have advertised it as you've submitted, but you either have to adjust your plan to reflect 180 or adjust your application to reflect additional parcels. So he's going to do the notification so that he can have the other parcels.
Okay.
At the next meeting.
We're going to table it. Correct. Okay. All right. So moving on. Inland Wetlands application IW 26-3, request to construct driveway, utilities, and culverts associated with the construction of a single-family home at 0 Ruby Road, map block lot 424600, owner R. White, applicant P. Peterson. So the commission had a site walk this afternoon. Met with Eric and we walked the property. So do we have the plans in front of us?
You should, yep.
So the real,
You're looking for 26-3. It should have been in front of you. Yeah, I have the plans.
Okay.
I'm going to share so that I can see it.
Oh, that's the next one. Anyway, so Eric's here. He can explain to you. We have the plans up on. I was there and Evan as well. So I have a good idea what's going on here. So
I was out there this morning. Well, I drove almost all the way back.
Get the back all the way up?
What's that?
Get the back all the way up?
No.
Okay, good. Right, so,
it's okay. It's fine.
so I was retained by, Brian White. because he wants to build a house on this 58-acre parcel. He wants the house set back from the road, so he has privacy. This property is abutted by the east by Ruby Road and to the west by I-84. And it's a little bit south of the town bus parking lot, which is across the street on Ruby Road. The wetlands were delineated by Rick Zulik, certified soil scientist, last September. And we're proposing to, obviously access the new house. Up on the plan, the house is all the way on the left, which is the west side, with a 800-foot long driveway to get from Ruby Road up to the new house site, which is right in front of the house is the existing, sort of the proposed septic system. And the well is a little bit to the south of the house. And what we're doing is there is an existing woods road, Ralph, that you must have driven up.
Yes.
That goes up almost to the house site and beyond, all the way to the back of the property. But we're going to follow that woods road for about 350 feet before we veer off to the south, and then back up to the house site. And the reason for that is we need to get this driveway higher sooner, or else it'll be too steep to meet town standards for a driveway. The proposed driveway is not to be paved, so it's got to be under 10%. So by swinging the driveway to the south at about the 350-foot mark, and crossing the wetland where we're showing it, we're getting the driveway up, we're keeping it under 10%. And what we're doing is reducing the amount of fill that's needed by essentially climbing the hill sooner. So we're proposing 2 crossings. Mike's got us zoomed into the second one, so I'll just talk about that one first. We're proposing to cross that with a 24-inch plastic culvert. That wetland is an intermittent water course that was delineated by Mr. Zulik. The crossing is about 55 feet south of the where the Woods Road crosses the wetland, even though you can hardly tell it's there when it's dry out. What I really like about this location is when we put this pipe in, it's going to discharge onto a riprap level spreader at really a location that's relatively flat compared to the rest of the water course. So we're going to be reducing velocities coming out of that pipe, and therefore reducing any likelihood of scour and erosion downhill of that. So I think it's a really good location for that crossing. As far as the other crossing goes, it's right at the edge of, not the edge of Ruby Road, but right off Ruby Road. There's a wet area there that Rick Zulik estimated was created by excavation, a very historic excavation, maybe when they widened the road or something. And he noted some springs and seeps in that area. So it is wet at times. So we're crossing that wetland there with an 18-inch plastic culvert as well. Similar with the stone riprap at the end, to reduce velocities and whatnot coming out of that pipe. Other activities within the upland review areas are the installation of the underground utilities, which are just parallel to driveway. And in this case, the upland review area is 250 feet based on the existing ground slope. So the septic system is within the upland review area and a small portion of the house. So you can see where we're showing on the map here, the septic system is probably 200 feet away from the wetlands. And the house is probably about 230 feet or so, 220 feet or so. So pretty good distance there. We're running erosion sediment control barriers, silt fence, down gradient of all of our construction activities. We have designated stockpile areas shown on the plans and an anti-tracking pad at the curb cut, and seeding schedules to stabilize the site once construction is done. Lastly, I just want to mention that in Mr. Zulik's report, he concludes that the 2 crossings are the best option to access the house site. The plan includes the proper erosion and sediment controls, and he does not foresee any long-term or short-term negative impacts to the wetlands at all. So with that, I'll just answer any questions you guys have.
The soil stockpile area, especially here, I mean, what's going to happen to that soil? Is it going to get reworked into that grade, or?
So we're bringing in fill for that area right there, that you were pointing at.
Yeah, stockpile area.
So we're gonna, it's probably shown as, yeah, I'm just better on sheet 2, if that's, is that sheet 2? Maybe not. Nonetheless, so we're gonna, we could be stockpiling topsoil there and then leaving it there until we need it again or seeding it. But most likely, when we bring in fill for that portion of the fill site, we'll put it right there, stockpile it, make sure it's uphill to the erosion sediment control barriers, and, use it as we need it. And then there's another one on the other side of the crossing too, kind of the same elevation of the septic system. Right, yep.
Yeah.
Right in that 626 area. So it'll be, they got a strip for the topsoil for the septic and, bring in sand and whatnot for that.
Yeah, I was just, cause that's so close, that first one we were looking at, I mean, it's right to that, to the tongue of that wetland there.
So, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so maybe in that area. I know you're gonna have silt fence, but maybe just bump up your BMPs a little bit, maybe just, some wattle or.
We could even slide
hay.
it a little bit to the east instead of having it right there,
Yeah,
where it's nice and flat.
that might be a better option.
And
for
then
you.
we're further away from that point on that wetland flag 30 there.
Yeah,
Sure.
you can put that in as a condition, like.
I have a question to ask. How familiar are you with the drainage of 320 south of this site, particularly on this curve here?
So,
The DOT pushes a lot of stormwater off the road at the total slope,
mhm.
and it's going to travel down and cross that driveway. I'm questioning whether or not using an 18-inch pipe is going to be adequate in extreme situations.
So we, in looking at the topography out there, along Ruby Road and onto our site, I remember figuring out the watershed to that culvert. And I was actually a little surprised how at times the water does get onto Ruby Road and then it gets back off and onto our site, just like you're talking about. So we designed that culvert for a 25-year storm to get water, which includes portions of Ruby Road to get over to there, and obviously the forested area on our site and a little bit to the south of it.
So is this area here, Eric, in your watershed?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out like this. All this is in the watershed.
Yeah, because they've had a continual problem down through here, the erosion along.
It certainly seems like they do run, the water does run right down that edge of that road.
Yeah, but it also gets diverted onto the property, and where it goes from there, it's not going down the side of the road. I mean, there is some that goes down the side.
Right,
of the road.
there's
A lot of it's gonna cross the driveway.
Mhm.
And I just want to,
We have accounted for that, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
that was one of my
It
concerns.
was a little surprising to me that was gonna be the case, but yeah.
Evan, did you have any questions of the applicant? You were on the sidewalk.
I don't really have any questions that haven't been already addressed.
Thank you. Mr. Rodney? Easy,
Conservation for house.
oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, we've got it set up on top of the hill. There's just like rock, if you notice, like there's like a ledge cliff behind it that really drowned out some of the noise from the highway.
Yeah, well, it's nice. You're down below the crest of the hill
Yeah.
with respect to your 84.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
kind of tucked into the hollow.
Yeah.
All right, so, make a motion to accept, approve inland wetlands application, IW 26-3, request to construct driveway, utilities and culverts associated with construction of a single family home at 0 Ruby Road, map block lot 42, 4600, owner R. White, applicant E. Peterson, with the, condition that they're gonna move that, what's that, the eastern stockpile further to the east, between those two wetlands, say,
Be further from wetland flag 30.
Yeah, between 30 and 16.
Gotcha.
16, man. It's on my other kind of,
This, oh, here.
Yeah, right, like that. Yeah, so we're, yeah, like, just move it to the east. Anything else, Sean? Are you okay with that? Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, you guys vote?
Good luck. Oh, did we vote?
I
I made a motion.
I'm like, did I miss it?
Yeah. He's got a second. All in favor? Aye. Any further discussion?
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So I'll put this in, but if you want to send me the revised plan to show the stockpile location, we'll just upload it.
Okay.
Just upload it.
Okay.
Whatever's easier.
Alright, thanks.
Okay.
Sir.
Next on the agenda is inland wetlands application IW 26-4. What to construct a 10,000 square foot plus or minus truck washing facility and 3,000 square foot plus or minus commercial storage building with associated site improvements at 10 Polster Road on JT Property LLC within L Mellon.
Are you gonna, do you want me to share or are you gonna, I see you joined. You want to share?
Can I share?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just give me one second.
A sidewalk was held, when was that?
Last week.
Last Monday?
Um,
The 11th, yeah.
Do you have your mic on your phone?
She's gonna share a video. This will pick her up.
Oh, you're not connected to the Zoom meeting?
I'm connected, but I just wanted to share. I don't need my mic on.
No, well, the reason is sometimes the mic causes a lot of feedback.
Nope, it's
When
all.
somebody's in the room.
Yeah. Yep, nope.
I have a one full size if anybody wants to look at the full size. But you all have the 11 by 17s, but if it's here, if you need it.
Okay.
Just
Introduce yourself and start it.
All right, thank you. Good evening, members of the Willington Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency. And thank you for your time tonight in reviewing our application for the truck wash and storage building, privately located at 10 Colster Road. For the record, my name is Lauren Mello. I'm a professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Design Professionals, Inc. And with me tonight is Casey Cousins, EIT and DPI's project engineer, and Ian Cole, registered wetland scientist and registered soil scientist and professional wetland scientist in the state of Connecticut with Ian Cole LLC. We are pleased to present this application for your consideration. We are here representing JT Properties LLC, and this project requires IWWA approval because portions of the work are located within the 100-foot regulated upland review area of the wetlands. As you know, the town of Willington regulates inland wetlands and watercourses under their own regulations, which were adopted and became effective in September 2009. These local regulations implement the Connecticut Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Act, found in Connecticut General Statutes sections 22A, 36 through 45. We have prepared this application in full compliance of the town's submission requirements. The package includes a complete set of site and erosion and sediment control plans prepared by DPI and wetland delineation reports prepared by Ian Cole as required by the regulations. The project also conforms to the town of Willington's planning and zoning requirements, the Connecticut Deep Soil Erosion Sediment Control Guidelines, and the 2024 Connecticut Stormwater Quality Design Manual. On May 11th, we received technical comments from Nathan L. Jacobson and Associates, the town's engineering consultant. The comments primarily focus on the stormwater management system and required some clarifications and minor adjustments. There were also a few site-specific comments regarding vehicular maneuvering, safety, and signage on site. We submitted a formal response to comments letter on May 13th that directly addresses or clarifies each item. And while we defended certain aspects of the stormwater design that were intentionally configured We have committed to incorporating the majority of Jacobson's recommendations into the final plans. I'd like to add at 7 o'clock tonight, we received, a response from Jacobson, and they came back with 2 additional comments that seem relatively easy to address, in the plans. Upon approval from this agency, we will revise the plans and stormwater report accordingly and submit them to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their special permit review. This application is also being considered, or coordinated with the Eastern Highlands Health District for septic design approval. And finally, we understand that approval from this agency does not relieve us of the responsibility to obtain all of their required state, local, and federal, permits. The subject property is a 12.3 acre lot. It's currently vacant and undeveloped parcel located within the design commercial zone. Just to note, the site received a zone change approval from Planning and Zoning on December 2nd, 2025. The site is accessed from Hollister Road on the western boundary and Mahaliak on the southern boundary. The site was formerly farmland and currently features large boulder piles, a gravel drive, several stone walls, and 2 man-made ponds. When we were out on the site, walking with Commissioner Toulis last Monday. The property consists of 2 main open fields, a larger one to the north, approximately 5 acres, and a smaller one to the south that's approximately 1 acre. They're both predominantly covered by dense upland grass and connected by a narrow grass strip right here between the 2 wetland areas. And the edges of the clearings transition into wooded areas that extend to the property lines. So on the screen, all that green hashed area, that's all wetlands on site. Overall, the property drains from the northeast here to the southwest corner. It is located in the Roaring Brook Subregional Drainage Basin, and a narrow farm drainage way runs between the 2 fields and connects the 2 man-made ponds. That's this line right here. One pond is located at the low point in the southwestern corner, near the intersection of Holster and Mahaliak, and the other one is more centrally located. And next, I'm going to give it to Ian to discuss wetlands in a little bit further detail.
Sure. Yeah, good evening for the record. My name is Ian Cole, professional soil scientist, professional wetland scientist, based out of Middletown, Connecticut. I delineated the wetlands on this site in December 2024, about a year and a half ago now. And then followed up once the project had a design done. I went back out this spring to rewalk the site and do basically a wetland function and value assessment and wetland impact assessment. I wrote a report that should be in the record dated April 19th or maybe even earlier. It's escaping me at the moment. Generally speaking, I think the important things to highlight: site's not in a natural diversity database area. There's no FEMA 100-year floodplain mapped on the site. The site's not in an aquifer protection area. Generally speaking, as we heard, right, there's a 5-acre field in the northern section that would be kind of the centralized point of development for the truck wash. In the southern area, there's a 1-acre field that would host the small storage unit building. And then the balance of the site is wooded. The site drains from the northeast corner to the southwest corner. As I heard in the wetland corridor, there's 2 old man-made relic farm ponds. Those little black dots on the side are the stone piles from, when they tilled the field every year and threw stones off to the corner. Yeah. And I think the other thing to highlight really is this application that can be constructed with no direct wetland impact. Now there is, I believe, and they have more of this specifically, I think it's 2.18 acres of impact in the upland review area. Most of that impact, though, there's not going to be a big habitat change. It's not forested, I guess, won't leave, but you will be a habitat change from open field to now commercial development. Generally speaking, the grade changes are not really significant on this site. We'll hear some more details, I believe. There'll be there's an excess of basically like 1,100 cubic yards of material, 11,000, sorry, a little off there by factor of 10. And then I think the other things that are important to highlight is that this application includes a lighting plan It includes a robust sedimentation erosion control plan. It includes both the traditional stormwater plan and also you'll hear more detail about the specific closed loop system for all wastewater treatment. And then it also includes a pretty robust landscaping plan that will introduce 73 new shrub and tree species planted throughout the site as part of the stabilization. Overall, there not anticipated to be any change in the function and value to the wetlands, considering that there's no direct wetland impact. And I guess I'll turn it back over to the engineers, and I'll be available to answer any questions if the commissioner has any questions.
Thank you. For proposed activities, site improvements include the commercial truck wash facility and a 5-unit storage building. The 10,000 square foot truck wash building right here is located on the larger clearing near the northern property line. It features 3 bays. 2 are automatic washers with a 15 to 20 minute cycle, and the third one is a 60-minute hand washing cycle bay. A paved meandering driveway that you can see in gray. Includes an 18-foot wide queuing lane and a 12-foot wide bypass or slip lane leading up to the truck wash. The facility and the site is designed for unidirectional traffic flow with an entrance here on Polster Road and an exit further to the north. One small waiting area, an office, a single stall bathroom, and a mechanical space is proposed within the facility besides the washing bays. In terms of wash water management from the building's operation of the truck wash, a controlled truck wash water recycle system will be employed to treat and recycle wastewater. Inside the truck wash, floor drains will divert wastewater to the controlled recycle system. This system reclaims, retreats, and recycles the wash water, conserving water and reducing or eliminating contaminated discharge. Water reclamation is rated at an 80 to 95% efficiency rate based on the composition of the wastewater. So in other words, only 5 to 20% of the wash water will be considered waste. The wash water that is considered waste, that 5 to 20%, and it varies on the season, is directed to a subsurface watertight containment tank system, and that's over here under it's subsurface, so it's underground outside the facility. And these tanks will be pumped regularly with its contents hauled and disposed of legally off-site. No contaminated truck wash wastewater will be discharged to the site's stormwater management system or put into the runoff, into the site's runoff. Included in the truck wash area, retaining walls, curbing, 3 parking spaces, which are up here, a dumpster pad and enclosure all in that area. Underground electric and teledata services, a domestic well, which is in this bottom left-hand corner over here, and a septic system that's up to the northeast in this field area outside the regulated area, are also associated just with the truck wash building and area. 3 stormwater quality and infiltration basins that you will hear in more detail later were designed specifically to clean and manage peak flow sleep in the truck wash area. For the 3,000 square foot storage building down here on the south, it's accessed exclusively from Mahaliak by a paved driveway apron, a bituminous driveway and 2 space parking area here are also associated with the building. It'll be serviced by overhead electric from a Mahaliak pole and a stormwater sedimentation swale and water quality basin that you'll hear more about later are proposed to manage the stormwater in this area. And I meant to mention the 2 pictures here are part of the car patrol interior system for the truck wash. So that's the part of their treatment package. As Ian mentioned, the project includes a thoughtful landscape plan that's designed to stabilize the site, enhance and screen visual appearance, and strengthen the natural buffer adjacent to the wetlands. We're proposing a combination of native and adaptive plant materials that are beneficial to wildlife, including trees like autumn blaze maple, arborvitae, eastern red cedar, white spruce, and pin oak. The evergreen trees are placed along the road right outside a sight line easement buffer. You can see it right here. This gray hatch is the sight line that you can't put trees in, and then there are the evergreen plantings. And within the buffer zone, to provide additional screening, in addition to the existing trees to remain, we try to keep as many trees as possible. Native large variety rhododendrons are used in the buffer area on the existing slope, for additional screening, and native secondary shrubs are used as foundation plantings. Shrubs such as red twig dogwood, Cynthia, and young eastern red cedar trees are included within existing grasslands in the upland review area to improve habitat value and to also slow down stormwater for improved infiltration. That's in this area in here, and something else. In addition, we're using specialized seed mixes across the site. There's a conservation wildlife mix for erosion control and disturbed slopes, basin side slopes and no-mow areas. And there's also a wetland seed mix for the detention basin, water quality basin bottoms that contains native seeds suitable for areas with moist ground. All disturbed areas will be promptly stabilized with temporary or permanent seeding, erosion control blankets where needed, and mulching. And the landscaping is specifically intended to filter runoff, reduce erosion, and create an attractive, low maintenance appearance that also has wildlife value with habitat and food. The total proposed area of disturbance for the project is approximately 4.3 acres. This includes all clearing, grading, and construction of impervious surfaces. Importantly, there is no direct disturbance to any delineated inland, wetland, or watercourse. All work will avoid the flagged wetland boundaries and the two man-made ponds located within them, as Ian mentioned. And as also Ian mentioned, the project does propose work within the upland review area with approximately 2.18 acres of disturbance in that regulated zone. Proposed regulated activities within that area primarily consist of selective clearing and grading, construction driveways, retaining walls, and stormwater management features, and installation of erosion controls and the landscape plantings. The entire site that includes the truck wash and the storage facility expects an approximate 11,000 cubic yard put or excess of material. And any imported material that comes into the site will be primarily for roadway and structural basis for the site improvements. And all materials are expected to meet Connecticut DOT or water quality standards and guidelines. All grading and construction activities have been designed to minimize encroachment into the regulated review areas to the maximum extent possible. And the plans show the proposed limit of work clearly delineated with generous setbacks maintained from the wetland boundaries wherever we could. The areas that we're tightest in are by one detention pond here and one water quality pond here, where naturally the discharges from the sites come from. And just to recap, for direct impacts, there's none to the wetlands or watercourses, and for indirect impacts, there's potential for minor effects from construction, as there is for any project, such as temporary sedimentation, changes in surface runoff, or minor alterations to sheet flow. And we've addressed these through our erosion and sediment control plan, stormwater management system, and landscaping proposals. Moving into E&S, the project includes a comprehensive erosion sediment control plan that was prepared in accordance with the 2024 Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control and the town of Willington requirements. During construction, erosion control practices such as temporary sediment traps and diversion swales, inlet protection to all stormwater inlets, catch basins and drainage structures, construction entrances, stockpiling with proper protection, and installation of double barrier protection will be utilized. And the double barrier protection will be silt fence, hay bales, or straw bales backed by silt fence. And those are always in the area between construction and the sensitive resources. So that's really all these dark lines is a double barrier protection. And in some cases we have triple. Once grading is complete in any area, temporary or permanent stabilization measures will be applied immediately, including seeding with a specified erosion control seed mix or erosion control blankets on slopes and mulching. And the blankets will be applied to anything 3 to 1 or greater, and in water quality areas. These controls are designed to prevent the sediment from leaving the site and to protect the environmentally sensitive areas. The plan also includes regular inspection and maintenance requirements during construction, which is in line with the Connecticut Deep General Permit, even though the site does not trigger that permit because it's less than 5 acres of disturbance. For example, the contractor will be required to maintain erosion sediment control measures during construction with weekly inspections and then immediate repairs. And then this proactive approach to the erosion and sediment control, combined with the fact that there are no direct wetland impacts, will ensure the project causes minimal temporary disturbance to these regulated resources. I'd like to now walk you through some alternatives that we considered during the design process. This analysis was performed to ensure that we arrived at a layout that was both practical for the site's intended use, and also to minimize the impacts on the wetlands and regulated resources. Early in the conceptual phase, the storage building was not part of the original proposal. And during the zone change process in December of 2025, planning and zoning encouraged the inclusion of an additional revenue generating use to support the town's economic development goals and help ease the residential tax burden. So in response, the applicant added a 5-unit storage building, and we carefully evaluated its placement to keep it as far away from the wetlands as feasible, while still allowing the functional access from Mahalia for adequate maneuvering space. For the truck wash building, we evaluated several possible locations on the northern clearing. A long functional queuing lane, that's that meandering driveway, is essential for this type of operation to prevent trucks from backing up onto Polster Road. After different configurations, we determined that the current location provides the best balance of building placement, long queuing capacity, and safe truck circulation. For example, we looked at locating the building more centrally located on site. However, this option proved unworkable because it did not allow sufficient room for the required queuing lanes and truck maneuvers. Another alternative we studied was flipping the site, so having the building in the south down in this area with the driveway entrance on the north. And unfortunately, due to the configuration and the proximity of the wetlands, specifically this pinch point here, and there's very steep grades in this area, this option would have required significantly more disturbance within the upland review area, and it also did not provide enough space to accommodate the building, parking, and safe truck operations between Polster Road and the wetlands. And finally, we explored the possibility of constructing a driveway or bridge connection right here between the northern and southern portions of the site to create a secondary access point to Mahalia. That alternative was ruled out because it would have resulted in direct impacts and eliminated the ability to construct the storage building that was requested by planning and zoning, and created unsafe truck turning and queuing conditions in the area. So in summary, after thoroughly reviewing these alternatives, the current site plan represents the most functional and effective layout for the site. It successfully meets the operational needs of the truck wash and storage facility while achieving the greatest avoidance of regulated resources and the least overall environmental impact. And with the proposed layout in mind, the project has been carefully designed with the following regulatory preference for avoidance first, minimization second, and mitigation where necessary. So for avoidance, as I mentioned, there's no direct impacts to the wetlands, water courses, and remaining ponds, and all proposed structures, pavement and grading stay completely outside those flagged wetland boundaries. Second, for minimization, we limited the disturbance within the 100-foot upland review area as much as possible. Again, it's only 2.18 acres. Buildings and impervious surfaces have been positioned to maximize the distance from the wetland edges while still allowing safe and functional truck operations. And finally, third, to further safeguard water quality and wetland functions as mitigation, the project includes a robust stormwater management system that you'll hear very shortly, installation of the car-controlled wastewater recycling system I spoke about earlier, the comprehensive and robust erosion sediment control plan, and the thoughtful landscape buffer. So in summary, this project strictly follows the avoidance, minimization, mitigation sequence. We believe the proposed design represents a responsible balance between the needs for an economic development while providing strong long-term protection of Willington's wetland resources. And next, Casey Cousins will speak about the storm, site water, and long-term maintenance of the system.
Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Casey Cousins. I'm an engineering training with Design Professionals Inc. So the stormwater management system was designed in compliance with the 2024 Connecticut Stormwater Manual. Based on the guidelines specified, stormwater runoff from proposed developments should result in peak runoff rates that are equal to or less than the existing rates for the design storms evaluated. In this case, we evaluated the 2-year, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storms. As referenced before, the relief which propagate the site gradually slopes from the northeastern property boundary southwest. The wetlands and the water course also follows this trend, terminating at a 15-inch reinforced concrete pipe at the lower pond, which we're assuming connects to the drainage system for Mahalik Road. For this development, 5 design points were assessed to determine stormwater flow in existing and proposed conditions. So you can imagine that the wetlands are connected across the strip. On the north side, design point 1 considers stormwater runoff to the northern wetland boundary. Design point 2 considers runoff to Coastal Road. And on the south side, design point 3 considers stormwater runoff to the southern wetland boundary. Design point 4 to a 30-inch RCP right here along Mahalik Road, and design point 5 considers stormwater runoff to Mahalik. So utilizing HydroCAD modeling system, NOAA Atlas 14 precipitation data, and NRCS soil data, stormwater runoff was evaluated for each design point and then assessed for the overall lot. Comparison of the models revealed an increase in runoff prompted by an increase in the impervious areas. For this development, stormwater management system is intended to attenuate stormwater runoff to the maximum extent practicable, preserve existing drainage pathways, limit disturbance in the upland areas, and eliminate any disturbance to the water course, thereby preventing degradation of water quality through sediment loading. This was achieved by employing a series of drainage depressions. Drainage depression 1 to the north, drainage depression 2 to the east, drainage depression 3 to here, and a water quality base to the side. With associated landscaping, paved leakoffs, pipe networks, catch basins, drainage manhole, and a hydrodynamic separator for water quality. So the system works by leveraging the natural terrain. Drainage depression 1 accepts overlying flow from an extensive upland area across the northern boundary, parts of the pavement area and the roof before conveying it to the hydrodynamic separator, which is right there, the middle of those 4 pipes. Drainage depression 2 accepts bypass flow from the upland area, most of the flow from the bituminous pavement area, and flow from this retaining wall right here before conveying it to the hydrodynamic separator. And the hydrodynamic separator, the water quality unit, also accepts flow from catch basin 1, okay, which is conveying flow from the rest of the bituminous area and parts of the grass areas. So from the water quality unit, this flow is diverted to drainage depression 3, which in turn regulates peak flow stormwater runoff rates to a spiral pad right there for velocity reduction before conveyance along the existing drainage pathway to the delineated wetland area. So the drainage depressions work in tandem to reduce peak flows from the overall site for all the storms events considered. So water quality unit 1 is used to treat the water quality flow in review of retaining the water quality volume as is allowed in the stormwater quality manual. This ensures a total suspended solids removal for up to 3.42 cubic feet per second, which is 4 times higher than the anticipated water quality flow, which is approximately 0.8 cubic feet per second. Now, the water quality unit is sized based on the inlet and outlet orientation, and updates to the plans for the engineering comments, we may be reducing the size of the water quality unit. However, it is expected that the water quality flow provided would be at least 2 times the required rates. On the south side, the water quality basin accepts stormwater runoff from the roof of the storage building and the adjacent basement areas, which is diverted to this forebay, which in turn goes to the wet volume of the basin before discharge to the delineated wetland area. To further regulate stormwater discharge, outlet control structures were modeled for each depression and the water quality basin. This involves weirs with openings at varying elevations to optimize depression or basin storage by controlling discharge for the design storms evaluated. For our findings, proposed peak runoff rates are less than the existing rates for each design point except for design point 2, that's along Coastal Road, and design point 5, which is along the Holly. So for design point 2, the rates were exceeded in the 2-year storm, and for design point 5, the rates were exceeded for all design storms. So this is by virtue of the driveway aprons in relation to the grades. So this is a de minimis increase in stormwater runoff and is not expected to have a detrimental impact to the subsequent downstream drainage systems. While reduction was not achieved at these design points, there's an overall reduction in the peak stormwater runoff from the entire study as previously stated. In terms of long-term maintenance operation, the storm drainage system maintenance operation is provided on the ENS plans for pavement sweeping, pipe outlets, catch basins, outlet control structures, the water quality basin, the water quality unit, and the drainage depression, with specific instructions for each measure, rates of inspection, sediment removal, and larvicide application as required. So updates to the plans to satisfy the engineering comments may result in changes to the water quality unit and the layout of the inlets and the outlets. The orifices and ponds will also be modified to satisfy these comments.
Thanks, Lucy. You're almost done. And thank you for your time and your attention this evening. In closing, this project represents a well-planned, responsible commercial development on a long vacant parcel in the design commercial zone. After careful design and thorough environmental review, the proposal achieves zero direct impacts to any inland wetlands or watercourses on the site. Disturbance within the 100-foot upland review area has been minimized to approximately 2.18 acres, and the project incorporates industry-leading protection measures, including the robust stormwater management system with the water quality treatment, a partial wastewater recycling system that captures and recycles 80 to 95% of truck wash water, comprehensive erosion sedimentation controls, and native landscaping designed to strengthen buffers and enhance habitat value. We've carefully considered the alternatives and selected the current design because it best balances operational function with the least possible impact to the regulated resources. The project fully complies with the Willington Inland Wetlands and Watercourses regulations and the Connecticut Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Act. This development will bring positive economic benefits to the town through new tax revenue while demonstrating strong environmental stewardship. We are confident that the proposed project will not harm and in many ways will help protect the valuable wetland functions on this property. We respectfully request that the Willington Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency approve this application. We are happy to accept any reasonable conditions of approval. Thank you again for your consideration. Ian, please your eye, would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for a thorough review of the project. Out you on the sidewalk, and do you have any questions regarding?
I do. On the west side of this property, along Tulsa Road, you have this little finger that's gravel out to the edge of the road. What's the purpose?
Well,
This
right
one
here.
here,
No, right there.
where my cursor is
Yeah,
right
Mike.
here.
Can you pull up the site plans?
I can do it.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Yeah.
He's on sheet DR1. Or he's on SP1.
I'm looking at SB1.
So it's all the same.
Just inside.
This right here.
Let it work, yeah.
Let me
The
zoom in.
little like tongue that.
I can't,
comes up.
yeah, right
Yeah,
there.
right there.
Right here. No, that's, it's just outlined because it's that travel drive and it's included in the limit of disturbance, that's the limit of work, and that's being pulled out and replaced with, lawn or seed or whatever's going on. Yeah, that's going away.
All right.
Yep, existing.
It's just that there's nothing on the plans that describes what that is.
Yeah,
What's going on there?
we can add something to the site plan, it's, shown on the demolition plan, on the site plan to be removed.
Okay, secondly, when we were on site, we were talking about this storage building. That's a dry building. I don't know how this is gonna be marketed, and this is more of a planning and zoning issue, I suppose, than a direct wetlands issue, except for the fact there's no septic associated with that space.
Correct, that's not the intent.
Understand? I just question the wisdom of that with respect to marketability, that's all.
Understood, thank you.
I think it would be wise to anticipate that. And that's coming out again from the wetlands perspective. Being that it's septic in there.
We'll be back in front of us.
Yeah. Yeah, my other issues will come up, I'm sure in the planning and zoning public hearing. I mean, I think overall it's interesting how you're shoehorning this whole thing into this property, given the terrain and the, just the constraints. Now, it's going to be manned.
I'm sorry, you say it again?
It's going to be personnel on site at all times.
Yes, there'll be
It's not 100% automatic.
No, there'll be two staff members on site at all times, for the truck wash.
Is it a 24-hour, 24/7, 365?
That's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't understand.
Yep.
So, at the moment.
The water quality unit, does that have anything to remove floatable solids or like you know, oils and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
It does. Oh, it's just thoughtfully designed. Out there in the ether, Evan, you got any questions about this application?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Mark?
I was just wondering if you meant by, there would be regular removal of sediments. What is regular for?
So it'll be daily.
It is
You're
daily.
talking about the truck wash, right?
Correct.
I'll show you what those tanks look like too. It'll be a daily operation. We designed it so that if there is an issue on site, and the truck had to miss a day, they will be fine. They won't overflow, they won't have to stop operations, they can keep moving, and doing, and washing trucks. So there's two, contaminated waste tanks there. And by our projections, put this down. And you can see that there's two 4,500 gallon, tanks. On the low end, we're expecting, and this is assuming that, it's at full capacity, scanning the number of trucks we expect every day. It has a 200 gallon, wash total, volume for each wash. And we get the, only 5% of the excess water for each wash. Then only 1,400 gallons of those tanks would be used. So out of 9,000, only 1,400 would be used. The highest capacity, so it's as many trucks as we expect. There's 250 gallons per wash. It's maybe not being as efficient and needs to be cleaned or something. And there's only a 20% efficiency, remove or 20% efficiency of recycle, yeah, so like 20% has to be disposed of, then it's a 5,600 gallon per day, so it would fill up one tank plus a little bit more. So that's why we did the 2 redundant tanks, because that way something can go down and it can continue operations without worrying too much about it. And then we designed the slip lane so that the truck coming to get the waste will be able to slip by the trucks and go up there and around.
Any further discussion?
I just will note that you have all 3, you sort of have the whole
Yeah,
litany of, there was initial comment memo that Joe Dillon prepared. Provided it to the applicant who prepared a response to comments, and then Joe sent over an hour or so ago, 2 hours ago, a follow-up, so there's a.
And that has to be addressed still, the follow-up or?
So in the applicant's response to comments, they agreed to make certain revisions. And then, I think that Joe's, actually I have. I think. In his email. He said that this is simply an assessment of their response comments. Ultimately, we would like the chance to review the revised drawings and report. And so, I mean, there's not necessarily, depending on and maybe there's value in going through everything to make sure that everybody's on the same page, but it's sort of common that applications include a condition that revisions be made as required by town engineer comments. And the other thing that I guess I would note is that particularly when you go through and look at Joe's first comment letter, I had him do sort of a comprehensive review. I'm not going to send it, one report part to you guys and P and Z. So these are all of his comments.
sure.
So, I mean, we'll have an opportunity to talk about these things if and when it goes to P and Z, but some of these comments, particularly the general site comments, were really pertaining to the P and Z side of things. So I think the first one in his last comment, in the document he issued today, was with regard to comment 11. So we go to comment 11.
Sediment forebay.
Yes, so he said, we are of the understanding that the system is in accordance with 2024 deep stormwater quality manual. The request for sediment forebays was made to provide an area to remove sediment deposition in the basins without harming the wetland and grasses and plantings. We recommend that the resolution to comment 15 regarding the inlet rip-wrap aprons be configured to provide areas for sediment removal. So I think that one probably required a little bit of discussion and just here between you guys and the applicant so that we're all on the same page as far as what is or isn't happening. Because I think in their letter, their response to comment doesn't, it's not saying we will do X and Joe's not saying, okay, I'm good with as provided. So I think we just want to clarify what is or is not going to be done, and if you agree with his comments, etc.
So what he's getting at then is just some sort of hard surface bottom of the forebay so that it can be easily cleaned with some piece of equipment.
Like a back truck or something. Shovel buckets.
Yeah, well, as opposed to.
Well, yeah, how much, I guess. Yeah, because you have all this like pre-treatment, right? Like you're getting your TSS out with these treatment units. I mean, how much
Can you pull up,
I guess, are you anticipating?
just so Evan can see, follow
From those removal efficiencies, I mean, if those units are maintained, like on a, you know, what is it, a biannual or an annual basis, you know, you get fire trucks out there and clean out these units or however they're supposed to be cleaned, cleaning out the sumps of the catch basins, how much, I guess, real solids would you be expecting in the 4 bays?
The answer is not a lot, and that's why we pushed back on the comment. We have, so focusing on the northern portion with the truck wash, this detention or infiltration pond up here, and this pond up here collects the majority of the site and collects most of the,
Is this DR1?
Yes, DR1, yep. So D1 and D2, those two basins, here and here, that collects pretty much everything that's to the north. The buildings, the driveway, the landscaping. This, and then when you come into the site, this is dropping down. So this roadway is draining all of this catch basin here. So you have this basin to the north, having sediment filtering out up here. Let me zoom in a little bit. I know it's a little glitchy.
Thank you.
Need a bigger cursor on there.
I know. I don't know how to do that. So this one up here,
We were getting the laser pointer out, but Mike wasn't gonna chase it around.
That's right, so I can't tell myself this late at night.
so this one right here,
Yeah.
essentially acts as a sediment forebay in some sense. It's
Okay,
piped, it's piped down. This right here is.
So that's getting sheet flow off from where the trucks are?
Yep, this is getting sheet flow from the trucks. There's some paved leak offs right here, right here. It's getting the roof is discharged to here. And then it drains out of this culvert end and comes south to the hydrodynamic separator, which is the secondary treatment in this train. And that takes more sediment out, more oils out before it's discharged to D3. And I'll get back to D3 in a second. D2 over here picks up anything in this area that's coming down, anything from this slope in here, and it cleans it in the same sense and goes to the hydrodynamic separator again. The only area that doesn't go to a pond and the separator is this area up in here, and this is lawn or seed mix with landscaping, a little bit of driveway, and it goes to this catch basin. But it does drain into the hydrodynamic separator, which cleans everything out before discharging to D3. And then there's a long residence time in D3 where it comes out of that culvert end, goes down, comes out, and finally it hits that riprap apron. So that's why we pushed back a little bit on the comments. We felt like there were at least two, in most cases, two treatments before that basin. We didn't feel like a sediment forebay was needed for each area.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty robust treatment train.
Yes. And then just for the storage facility too, this right here is a water quality swale, essentially for sedimentation that they can clean out pretty easily before it hits the water quality basin, which infiltrates and again will drain through a pipe and then go to a stilling basin that can be easily cleaned out before discharging to the wetlands over here. So that also has two areas for sediment to settle before it leaves the system.
So conditions.
I have a question I'd like to ask, if you don't mind. Given that we don't use sand on the roads in the wintertime anymore, we have to use de-icing chemicals, which are all soluble in water. And you recycle the water. How do you get out the dissolved components of de-icing chemicals? Or does that gradually build up over the course of the winter?
Are you talking about the truck wash?
Yes, I'm talking about the truck wash.
That's the 20%. So the winter, efficiency is only 80% removal, not the 95%. So that extra 20% is because of the de-icing and chemicals, and that's what they can't recycle. Because the water and that goes into the holding
So how do
tanks.
you separate it?
The machine does that.
I mean, I can.
Even though it's dissolved? That's what I'm asking.
So I'm not a mechanical engineer. I can give you a little more information on that interior system if you'd like. So there's an in-ground water collection sump pump, that collects the water, and then goes to a 1,000-gallon clarifier tank. Where then it goes to a 30-gallon sludge dewatering vessel before it goes to a 2,000-gallon storage tank. There's a high-pressure pump, a carbon filter, and an oxidation system, all within that system in the building. And, of course, the control panel internally, and all of that will take care of the chemicals that you're talking about on the trucks. And in terms of, if it gunks it up, that's just operations and maintenance of the truck wash in the building, that the owner's taking on.
Am I asking an outrageous question here?
Well, I mean, it's all like an
Yeah, but
enclosed system, so it's not really getting out of the.
But it's going to build up over time.
Right, so
It's
the
like
concentration's going to be,
trying to take sediment out of salt water, okay? If you're running salt water through this continually and you're replenishing it,
carbon filtration, it's.
you know, it's still gonna keep the dissolved chemicals in that water if there's no way to negate them. I'm just curious how that works, that's all.
I can't answer that question because I'm not a professional on that. If you'd like, if you'd like, I can, get you more information specifically for planning and zoning, and actually I have a write-up for that. Because I feel like that's a little outside of the wetlands realm, and we can address that later on. Because none of the water from the truck wash is going to the stormwater system or to on-site runoff that will go to the
Okay, well, I can
wetlands.
serve that question for planning and zoning as well. No problem. I'll be on the other side of the table for
Thank you, Ralph.
You said you had some draft conditions and.
Yeah, so just for my clarification, what did folks decide for Joe's comment one? Do you want the plans to be revised to provide the additional sediment forebays? Or do you think that the applicant's explanation of why they don't feel they're necessary is sufficient and therefore it's not needed?
Okay, so he was saying that design is not in with the manual.
He's saying it is. We are of the understanding that the system is. The request for sediment forebays was made to provide an area to remove sediment deposition in the basins without harming the wetland grasses and plantings. So do you feel that redesign is necessary, or do you think that the applicant's explanation as to why they think this is not a worthy amendment is enough to essentially strike that?
Yeah, I mean, their design is pretty robust for removal of sediment. So, I don't know about Ralph, Mark, or Evan, but I feel they're just. Ralph?
I'm given the nature, I mean, we're talking about sediment, right? I'm thinking more in terms of litter that accumulates in this whole area. It's going to find its way in there. And I don't know if that will settle out or when that will get washed out or what.
Well, we would typically require that the applicant provide a litter control plan and maintenance as part of the P and Z submission. I don't know. One of the sort of comments that I had to talk about was overall, and I looked through quickly, but it's just my thumbs and missing a page here that we have at some point, and it can be something that we carry through so that if there's further amendments, they only have to do it once, but I think we should have sort of an operation, maintenance operation and maintenance schedule or narrative, something that shows all the things they're gonna do. Just because with all these things, it's, they are all designed to function and provided they're maintained, they will function, but I think we need to capture what that intended maintenance and operations will be. So I don't think that answers Ralph's question about trash necessarily, but, and Warren will correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it was as simple as just adding that to the plans. There was a fair amount of redesign that was going to be necessary to actually implement the forebay, right? It wasn't just a simple, okay, boom, we'll just add it on.
Right.
And so I think that, it may potentially, I don't know, create sort of a ripple effect with designing a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
And feel free to elaborate on that.
Yeah, just increasing the area of disturbance, more regrading, more excavation, all for something that we really felt was unnecessary because we had two levels above the board drops of the D3 basin. So that's why we wanted you to reconsider that.
Yeah, with my flag, as far as the maintenance.
Yeah. We can provide that. We'll make that part of the condition too.
Yeah, that'll overlap with planning and zoning anyway. Their point. So.
Want to check with Evan just to make sure.
Evan, do you have anything?
No, I think that having a plan in place for maintenance of the system would be a good idea. I did think of one question. Slightly may have been said and I missed it. But is the water all being provided via the well on site?
Yes, that's right. Yep, by the well.
I have no further questions.
So are we striking one? We're not going to require that they redesign for one.
Nope.
Okay. Yep, and so the next one is 2, which talks about anticipate the submission of additional test pit information, will provide insight into ledge elevation throughout the site. 2024 Connecticut Deep Stormwater Quality Manual requires a 3-foot separation between the bottom of the stormwater basins and the top of rock. So it sounds to me like there were right to those.
Yeah, what was based on your test net data?
Yeah, we were okay. We decided that the planting report, stormwater quality manual, we were above 3 feet from groundwater in those areas. And one of the comments from Jacobson was that we were missing the test pit logs in our plan set. And we agreed that those were missing, that will be done in the updated set.
I don't think we need to make them provide that to us. For 2. For the one else up here.
Regardless of what you do with either of those, they don't get absolved from the 2024 requirements.
Yeah.
So whether you include it or not, it's still all right. But you don't have that power.
Authority?
Sorry, you do not. So, which is not to say it's not necessary or important, but you're not waiving that, the responsibility for that design. Okay. So I did go through and review all of our more sort of our commercial applications and put together a list of conditions for you to consider. I've made some tweaks. I can hand out, give you what I pulled together, and we can kind of run through them. I think that it would be important for the applicant to at least have an opportunity of something they feel makes them.
Right, so I guess my biggest thing is, site control, the limit of work, road and traffic controls. Sounds like they're putting up some robust BMPs here, and they're gonna be following, what I assume would be like a stormwater sweat.
Yeah, essentially, in the plans on the ENS, note sheet, it includes it's basically the Connecticut DEP general permit inspections and everything, site cleaning, sweeping, cleaning out catch basins, cleaning, sediment buildup, it's all included in the plan already.
And then during construction,
Yeah, during construction, so, there's site inspections at least once a week, and then after every essentially deep rainfall, yeah, even though it's not above the 5 acre threshold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those guys will be inspecting the site, looking for erosion. Who's gonna be doing that? Yeah, I'm sure.
We didn't specify, we put it that it's a contractor's responsibility to have an inspector doing that, yep.
So it's somebody that goes out and inspects, the silt fence, erosion, make sure nothing's leaving the site or impacting the regulated areas.
Do you want me to read these? Do you want to go through them out loud so that, because I just prepared them. Yeah, you guys are just getting them, so Evan won't have them. So I mean, we can go through them. I can read them fairly quickly, and if somebody has a question or an issue, you just stop me.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So okay, great. The first section is most of what are sort of our standard conditions.
Yeah.
But I've modified them for clarity and kind of to eliminate redundancy. The permittee shall participate in a pre-construction consultation and shall notify the commission's agent at least 3 days prior to commencement of work. Permittee shall employ best soil and erosion management practices consistent with the terms and conditions of this permit and the most recently adopted Connecticut stormwater guidelines to control stormwater discharges and prevent any pollution of wetlands and watercourses. Following any rain event, all erosion and sedimentation controls shall be inspected and any issues rectified immediately and reported to the commission's agent. All work and regulated activities conducted pursuant to this authorization shall be consistent with the terms and conditions of this permit. Any structures, excavation, fill, obstructions, encroachment, regulated activities not specifically identified and authorized herein shall constitute a violation of this permit and may result in its modification, suspension, or revocation. Upon initiation of the activities authorized herein, the permittee thereby accepts and agrees to comply with the terms and conditions of this permit. This authorization is not transferable without written consent of the commission or its agent. In evaluation of this application, the agency has relied on information provided by the applicant, and if such information subsequently proves to be false, deceptive, incomplete, or inaccurate, this permit may be modified, suspended, or revoked. No equipment or material, including without limitation fill, construction materials, or debris shall be deposited, placed, or stored in any wetland or watercourse on or off site unless specifically authorized by this permit. The commission or its agent may make regular inspections at reasonable hours of all regulated activities for which permits have been issued under these regulations. Permit is subject to and does not derogate any present or future property rights or other rights to powers of the state of Connecticut or the town of Willington, and conveys no property rights in real estate or material, nor any exclusive privileges, and is further subject to any and all public and private rights. I'm not going to keep reading this. That's a Mark Grant's condition. I'm not sure exactly why it's necessary, but it carries through on all the permits. All limits of disturbance shall be field staked and inspected by the commission's agent before the commencement of any site work. Any violation of the limitation that no work be performed or equipment moved beyond the limit of disturbance shall immediately be reported by the permittee. And actually, I'll write this. There will not be a work zone for this. To the designated agent who is authorized to order immediate cessation of work, to allow for evaluation and appropriate remedial actions during and not limited to revocation of a permit. And so essentially what that is saying is if there's an issue, they need to report it, and we can authorize them to do what corrective actions are necessary, but we're not going to necessarily allow them to continue to make progress on the site. If we have a violation, that becomes can become the only authorized activity on the property.
So with that, so they're gonna be hiring someone to do these, weekly inspections or after, a rain event.
Yeah,
Cause I know we were getting those reports.
that was through the clerk of the works.
Okay,
And so that was a much higher level of review. We're putting this as a condition of approval on the applicant. So the applicant may have an engineer, will have a builder or who's site guy who will hire somebody, right? So we've already pointed that arrow to 4 different people. And so because of that, even though it's on their plans and we can hold them to it, we are including this in here because our expectation is that the responsible party is going to do this thing. Not that the applicant who hired an engineer, who hired a site person, who hired a third party, right? Like, we're not gonna be having 4 games of telephone to figure out who's responsible. The permittee becomes responsible by this condition, even though it's in here.
but I wanna see the reports.
So you want
Do they submit something to us like monthly?
Loves was the only project that
Yeah.
that has required it. We have all the activities that have to happen as part of this, but actual written reports, Loves was the only ones that are providing. So if you want to include something in here,
That's fine.
but because they were in and within wetland,
Yeah.
we wanted to be able to have that captured because the town's agent was reviewing all those reports and would determine based on those reports if they needed to be on site.
Okay.
Any straw bales used for erosion and sedimentation control shall be certified invasive free. Adequate protection shall be provided within any wetland or upland review area for any existing mature trees to ensure that root damage does not occur. Permittee shall immediately notify the agent of any problems involving wetlands or water courses which have developed during or which were caused by the authorized work. Any construction debris shall be removed, not dumped or buried on site. Any modification or deviation from the approved plan shall require prior review by the commission or its agent. Copies of any and all reports, filings, and or notifications required by the state of Connecticut Army Corps of Engineers or other state or federal agencies shall be provided to the agent. Additional erosion and sedimentation controls may be required by the commission or its agent as field conditions necessitate. The issuance of this approval does not abrogate the applicant's responsibility to obtain any other necessary approvals. And then in accordance with CGS 22A42, this approval shall be valid for a period of 5 years unless subsequently extended by the commission or provided for by law. It shall be the responsibility of the permittee to request any necessary extensions prior to the expiration date of approval. Then these are sort of project specific. So the plans shall be modified to 1, incorporate a copy of the approval, that's standard. Number 2, I tweaked it slightly, but to incorporate all necessary revisions pursuant to the 5/13/2026 response to comments letter. So in their response, they agree to make certain amendments. I then left 2 spaces if there's things that you want to add. 21, the applicant shall provide an adequate erosion and sedimentation control bond in an amount to be determined by the town engineer and commission's agent. Such bond shall be provided in a form approved by the town. So we have an adopted financial guarantee policy that we established several years ago. So that would be in accordance with that. It essentially says, based on the amount determined, what the form of the bond, whether it be in cash, check, or passbook or whatever. So if it's something small, we won't accept like a insurance bond or whatever, because if you have an ENS issue, it'll take you 3 months to get the money out of the bank. The engineer of record shall provide certification that all temporary erosion and sedimentation controls to be utilized during construction have been installed in accordance with the approved plans and construction sequence prior to commencement of construction. Prior to the release of the erosion and sedimentation control bond, the engineer of record shall certify that all on-site drainage structures have been installed in conformance with the approved plans. An operation and maintenance plan or narrative, so I just added this in, an operation or maintenance plan or narrative shall be provided prior to the commencement of site activity. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a plan, like a sheet, but I think having a document that explains the operation and maintenance responsibilities and what will happen. We talked about certain intervals. Yeah. I think that will help bring some clarity to how this is all going to function. So like when we did Loves, they have that whole treatment system and they have a monitoring plan and a person that's responsible for that. So there's how that all will work and what will happen so that it doesn't just fall on some person who's not on the property to go out and make sure that the system is functioning, right? To Ralph's question, if this whole system is designed in such a way that it will, when it's functioning properly, everything's getting pulled out of the water and put in this tank, but it requires a human being to do that physical check, whether it be a test or whether it be reviewing some output. I have no idea. I don't know if it'll be remotely monitored, but there should be, I think we should be able to have some form of information that explains how that's going to happen so that we can verify that those things are being done. And that may be something that is more of a BZC function because it's a closed system, but I still think it's part of the due diligence of the commission to know that we don't just install it and then cross our fingers that it will function. So this one, I was thinking a little bit about, and I'd be interested in your feedback. I was sort of thinking about it. They're going to go to P&Z. You know, there are things that may or may not need to be revised, and how do we create that feedback loop, but not sort of also get caught in the constant wetlands to P&Z, back to wetlands to back to P&Z, and those modifications. So this says, should minor amendments of this approved plan be required subsequent to an approval granted by the Planning and Zoning Commission, such revised plan shall be submitted to the commission for review and comment, but will not require the submission of a formal application unless the commission or its agent determines such modifications be significant. So what I'm trying to capture there is, if to Ralph's point, P&Z says, this is stupid, you don't have septic on this storage building, or through some subsequent part of the public hearing, the function of that building changes in some way, that then means they're gonna have to come back. And so they're gonna submit a reapplication, or how does that? Well, so what I'm saying is they would provide the revised plan to you. You guys would look at it and say, okay, this is a minor modification, that's how we'll treat it, or this is a completely full-blown new and completely beyond that scope.
Right.
And we deem this to be significant, so we want to treat this as a sort of a formal and complete resubmission. I don't want to suggest that every modification to the plan is equal.
Right.
And so something you might look at and say, okay, that's minor. Maybe you ask me to do a modification as the agent, right? There's a couple of different ways you can handle it. And so I'm giving you the opportunity to review that revision and decide how you want to handle it.
Gotcha.
And let's say they decide they want to fill that whole wetland, I don't know. But you can make that complete reassessment at that point.
Yeah.
Deem it significant, insignificant, agent approval, whatever. But that's what I'm trying to capture there.
I like that.
That's good. We've done stuff similar to that with P&Z, where we are asking for an opportunity to comment.
Do you know off the top of your head what the in Connecticut, the trigger, rain trigger is for an inspection?
0.5 inches.
Quarter inch?
0.5.
Oh, 0.5, sorry.
0.5 inches, yeah.
Yeah, I think EPA is 0.25. Can you just change that number to 3?
Yep.
For like any half-inch rain event?
Yep.
Because any rain event, I mean, like I said, out there for a couple inch.
Yeah, is there a time component to that though?
Within 24 hours of the event.
No, I meant, so having to rain over 20 minutes is different than having to rain over 4 hours.
Right. They still need to go out.
At all times. So following any, I put 0.5 inch parentheses, 1/2 inch rain event, all erosion and subdivision controls shall be inspected. So I mean, I think the important points are, they're going to flag limits of disturbance ahead of time, which we will review. They're going to confirm installation of all temporary erosion control before they get started. They're going to certify all the drainage is going to be installed. At the end of the project, we'll have an ENS bond. We can require additional ENS if necessary. We're going to get the operation and maintenance narrative or documentation or whatever. I'm trying to be a little bit flexible because I don't think we need another sheet on the plan set if that's not the most appropriate way to communicate that information. And I specifically worded it so that it says prior to the commencement, because there may be additional requirements on the P&Z approval, and we don't need two separate documents. So that's kind of what I started.
Does this allow for a partial release of their ENS bond?
Our policy speaks to partial release. We will do a partial release if, depending on the total size. But if we only have like $5,000, we're not gonna like incrementally release.
No, I understand.
But if it's a substantial enough amount, then we will, if they request it and do an inspection, do a release, but that's
Okay.
part of the policy.
That's if areas are stabilized and.
Oh, yeah, if we deem it to be appropriate to even do the release, but if the bond amount is small, we're not gonna go through and do, okay, we'll give you $500, okay, we'll give you $1,000.
Right.
It's just too much paperwork.
Yep. Okay, thank you for getting all these conditions ready for sign.
Is there anything that you want to add in those number 20 there? And I guess if there's anything that causes extreme heartburn in the sense that it isn't feasible or that you feel like it can't be met,
And what we just went through, no,
things that I read.
no.
Okay.
I'm okay. The system is used elsewhere in the state.
The particle system, it's used by the DOT. There's no, private owner that has one yet. But the DOT uses it and it's used in other areas. I believe it's out of Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly.
Evan, any further questions or comments today?
Nope, sounds all good to me. Thank you.
On that note, make a motion to approve inland wetlands application IW 26-4 requested to construct 10,000 square foot plus minus truck wash facility and 3,000 square foot plus minus commercial storage building with associated site improvements at 10 Post Road, owner JT Property LLC, applicant L Mello. With the conditions that were read,
25 total.
25 conditions.
Good. I'll second.
Okay, we have 2 seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you very much for such a nice presentation and going over the project.
Thank you for this.
You did very good. All of you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Here we go. Next item on the agenda is old business. No old business to discuss. Next is correspondence. I don't think we have any correspondence, staff report and discussion. And pressing. Well, what time do we have on the training?
Yeah, the portal is active online.
I have to get a code. I remember last time.
It's all like log sign up with them now.
That's it?
Because it's everybody has to take it now, so it's not like. Can you
Good night.
just upload your presentation documents to the portal? Okay.
Then I'm gonna email you.
Okay.
Good
So
night.
there's not, yeah, it's, I don't think it's publicly restricted like it has been.
Yeah, because we had to have code or something like that.
Yeah, other than that, we've got, a little bit of an issue going on 41 Loshi and the adjacent, unrelated, but the adjacent property at 8 Kuchko.
Solar.
So the 41 Loshi is the location of the solar project. It was approved by the siding council. They did begin all of the timber harvest associated, well, they did begin a timber harvest, or a timber harvest was conducted on the property. We received some complaints from people in the area because they were tracking everything in and out of the road and public works that are going sweep. The siding council, so I reached out to Bear G Solar, who said, we are not conducting any activities on site. This has got nothing to do with us. There is a forester who is doing work under a separate permit. Got nothing to do with us. And I reached out to Melanie at the siding council, who said, Bear G shouldn't be beginning any work because they don't have their final notices to proceed from us. and their deep stormwater permit. I said, okay, well, the site has got no trees on it anymore. So I then heard from the forester, who conveniently, Verigy, who has nothing to do with the activity and doesn't own the property, had the email and contact information for the forester who is doing the work, who provided that to me, interestingly enough, who said, oh, I didn't need a permit. It was under 25,000 board feet. It's as of right. I said, well, Willington regulates these activities, so it is not as of right. And even if it were as of right, you'd still need to notify us that it was as of right. So I have a very good relationship with the folks at Deep. And so they went out and did an inspection.
Mike Zito?
Nick.
Nick
Yes. And will address that with the forester, because in their opinion, it would exceed 25,000 board feet. And adjacent to that, there's the 8 Kuchko has just, I don't even know what,
I noticed.
blown that whole site up.
It stripped about everything off of the property.
So I think that
That's right.
Larry?
No.
it's owned by someone with the last name Zagadlo.
Oh, Walter?
No, it's not Walter's house. It's the house he grew up in.
Oh.
Stephen, maybe?
Oh, could be Stephen.
So
Stephen.
I think that there was an attempt to try to remove some profit from the trees on their property. It's unrelated to what's happening on Loshi, but harvesting almost certainly occurred off of their property and onto adjacent properties on Wilderness Way, including the town's property. So when the state was out there, I said, can you look at this? I'm not sure what's going on. I haven't had a chance to go out and look, but we've had some complaints. The guy I know has historically been a forester or was a
Dabbling.
no, he's not a forester, he's like a
Arborist?
he's like a harvester, like a logger.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Walterville. That's not the house in question.
That's not, but I think he
Stephen works for Walter at times, or he has.
Yeah, but I don't know whose name that property is.
I think it's in Stephen, we sent a notice out, so they went out and took a look, and when they take photos, they geo-reference them, so he sent me a map that shows. And he said, yeah, it looks like they kind of went through and just pulled all of the biggest trees. But and so that property came to us through Conservation Commission, who was said, hey, we've got some concerns, they're cutting off the property line onto the town's parcel, so we have addressed it from the wetlands and timber harvest side, sent a notification to the property owner, indicated that trees were cut on and over the property. We've copied the property owners on Wilderness Way who to just make them aware, but our land use, we cannot address the property boundary issues because it's not really, there aren't conservation easements there. So that'll be something the town has to deal with, but now Verigy has asked if they need a permit to clear trees on the property as of this morning. So I have a call back to, it's
Site council.
it feels very much like a bait switch.
Oh, yeah.
Right, like they have coordinated with either the property owner or somebody else to come in and do this harvest ahead of their authorization to proceed from the siting council.
Exactly.
And in most towns, it doesn't matter because it's all as of right. But like, we have no tracking pad, DPW has had to go out with a sweeper a couple of times. It's all gone, like there's no equipment left on site.
That's interesting, like I'm wondering if they have to like file, like, have any other permits that would have like, go through like US Fish and Wildlife that would have time restrictions for bats and. all
Well,
that.
so interestingly, DEEP is required to, I think, as I read it, approve if 2 acres of core forest are proposed to be removed. They're only required to comment if it's 1 acre or more, and this project is between 1 and 2. So they did provide comments during the siting council review, but they don't need to do an approval because it's less than 2.
It's only two acres?
Of core forest,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So,
But still, they're gonna have to have like,
right, they don't
probably
have,
a SWIP and all this, so that kicks them into.
yeah, they don't have their
Federal.
DEEP permit.
Yeah.
That's why siting council said it better not be anything related to Verigy because they don't have their formal notice to proceed.
Yeah, because they would have to file an IPAC and Fish and Wildlife stuff. Yeah.
So it's been a little bit frustrating because they're like, well, it's not us. But here's the contact information down to the Gmail address of the person doing this work, but it's got nothing to do with us. But here's their email address, which again is just,
Yeah.
so I've worked with the siting council on a bunch of stuff. And so I'm just gonna sort of keep pulling on that thread because it just feels
Okay.
like there's this gap and it's just unnecessary. So that's been a sort of a pain. But the work is done. If you drive by there now, you're gonna see nothing. It's all been cut.
Okay.
Oh, it was primarily farm fields, but got planted with Christmas trees.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a big chunk up at the top that was completely forested. And then as you move your way down, yeah, there's these two fields, which were pretty much open. And then the swath of trees in between the two Christmas tree areas was one of the areas that deep flagged as a core forest. I don't know. I was just reading through the docket on the state website.
Well,
Okay.
I grew up in that neighborhood, so
Yeah,
I know what it was when I was a kid. It was farm fields.
yeah. So it's just been, so anyways, we did issue him a letter to make him aware. I didn't go so far as to say you need to come in and get a permit from the commission because the work has been completed, and once Verigy gets their notice from the siting council, it all goes out the window anyways.
Exactly, yeah.
Well,
We're, just so they know, we're,
paying attention.
yeah. All right. Is that about it?
That is about it.
Anybody?
Yeah, next is, the meeting's open for public comment. If there's anyone that's out, in the internet land that would like to make a comment at this time, the floor is open to you. Yeah, it's just, wait out to like raise their hand or something.
They could unmute, but
Everybody's starting.
there's nothing.
On video.
Juliana and me, Ernst.
They're just listening, I guess.
Okay,
All right.
and for joining the meeting with us. Last is, a motion for adjournment. Go ahead, Ralph. You're good at it. You've been here all day. Go ahead, Ralph.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Evan.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Yeah.